Let me start the recording. All right, everybody. I just want to welcome you all to tonight's session. It's we're going to be baking with Katie's Pies and More, and this is Katie, and she's done
Hi.
a wonderful. She set up a wonderful treat for us tonight. She's going to do. Why don't you explain what you're going to do here?
I am going to show you how to make a lemon raspberry bread with a crumble on top. And I give you the measurements and I show you what it looks like and how to make it. And I have the end product right here.
Perfect. Well, if you want to talk a little bit about yourself, like what you're offering at the curbside event, or do we want to get right into the rest of the video?
Let's just go right into the video and then we can ask.
Perfect. All right, I'm going to share my screen.
Everybody, thank you for joining me with Baking with Katie's Pies. Today I'm going to be making raspberry lemon bread. So good. So I'm going to lower the camera so you guys can watch me mix it up in the bowl. This is a new stand, so I'm not quite used to it yet. Okay. So in the bowl, I have a half a cup of sugar. And on this plate, I have 2 cups of flour, a half a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. You're gonna put that all in the bowl and mix it together so it's all incorporated. That looks good. And then here is 2 eggs. So we're gonna put that in there. 2 large eggs at room temperature, because you want everything to be room temperature when you go to bake. That is like a #1 rule. You want everything room temperature. I have a half a cup of oil. We're gonna mix that all together. And then this calls for lemon yogurt. It makes it super moist. And then it also calls for a teaspoon of lemon zest. So I just put that in there. This is gonna be a really thick batter. And if you bake at all, you know that sometimes when you bake with fresh fruit, you wanna dust it with flour. But since this recipe is so thick, you really don't need to dust your raspberries in the flour. And you can also use frozen if you can't find them fresh, or if that's just what you have on hand right now. Okay, that looks really good. Now, as you can see, it's a really thick batter. Okay. And then you want to add a cup, or we really like it raspberry, so I add about 1.5 cups of fresh raspberries. And you're going to fold them in. You don't want to stir, you want to fold, because then it will mash up the raspberries. And you want that big pop of raspberry when you go to take a bite of this bread. Okay, that's what it looks like. And then I have a greased loaf pan. There's several sizes. And you just put that in your loaf pan. Scrape the bowl because you're gonna want every good bit of that bread in there. And then just spread it around. Make sure it's all even. And then I made up a crumble, in which is just a half a cup of flour, half a cup of sugar, and 2 tablespoons of butter. And then you're just gonna wanna spread it around. And the crumble is super good, so we really put it heavily on. And then just kind of make sure it's all even and covered. And that's what it looks like. You pop it in the oven at 350 for about 45 minutes. You start to check on it. And when a toothpick inserted in the middle comes out clean, it's done. And then you just gotta wait for it to cool off to cut it. And that's the hardest part. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm not very good at this. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I hope you all have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
So how did it come out?
Here it is.
Wow.
And the crumble on top. It is so good. It's my dad's favorite, or one of them. And my blueberry bread has the same crumble on top of it, so it's really good.
When you said on the crumble that you do the butter, do you like chop the butter into the mixture?
What I do is I use warm butter, and then I use a fork and just kind of what you would do with a pastry cutter. I just don't like using them. I use a fork because back in the old days they didn't have pastry cutters. You just used your forks or your hands. So that's how I was taught.
It looks delicious.
Thank you. It's one of the #1 sellers when I had it at the farmer's market.
Does anybody have any questions? Someone asked here, can you do the same thing with other fresh fruits?
Yes, blueberries would be good. Blackberries would be good. Strawberries probably, but they have a very high water content, so I don't know how well that would turn out. Yeah, cranberries. I do a cranberry and orange bread because it turns out almost the same as that, and it's really good.
Someone's asking, is it a dense bread or cake-like bread?
Cake-like. Yeah, almost all my cakes are, or all my breads are like cake-like texture.
And this one, is it available at the curbside?
Yes, I will have blueberry bread, coffee cake, and lemon raspberry bread available at the curbside.
This person's asking, will the recipe be on here? She went through. Go ahead.
I can post it on my page if you want, if you would like, or I can send it to you. You just shoot me a message on my Facebook page.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I'll put your contact information here.
Yeah.
Let me send it to the group. What are some other things that you're going to be offering at the curbside?
I will have mini pies, and I'll have blackberry crumble, blueberry crumble, strawberry, which is a cold pie with kind of like, it's not Jell-O, but it looks like it's Jell-O, and then a chocolate cream pie. And I'll have cupcakes. I'll have chocolate, raspberry, or vanilla. And I have cookies, chocolate chip, double chocolate, chocolate oatmeal, and oatmeal raisin.
What's the best way for people to reach you?
You can text me or send me a message through my Facebook page, Katie's Pies and More. hmm And I respond quickly.
Very cool. Someone's asking, can you bake it in a bread baker?
Probably. More than likely, yes. I don't have one. We used to have one and then we never used it. But I know a friend of mine does her pumpkin bread in there. So it's probably the same thing. I don't know if you would get the crisp crumble on top though.
I think I'd want the crisp crumble.
Yeah, it's really good.
The loaf pan, is it like a standard size?
There's several sizes. That was probably a standard size loaf pan. But the ones I'll be selling at the market are the mini loaves. They're 1 pounds. So I'm not going to name names, but I've seen a lot of people eat one pan just sitting there. So.
That's great. On the when you change different sizes, do you need to change the amount of time that you cook it?
Yes. I know on my mini loaves, they cook about 30 minutes, but I also have a cookie sheet pan full of them. So there's usually 10 pans on a cookie sheet. But I have noticed that they cook slightly less.
Cool.
And you can also make this into muffins. And they would cook about 20 minutes.
I know you make a lot of delicious treats, and I've had your pot pie, your little hand pot pies. They're so good. How did you get involved in cooking, or how did you become Katie's Pies and Mores? Like, can you tell us a little about your background?
I started off in a little mom and pop restaurant in Hera. I'm from Hera. And then I just I can do this on my own. So actually a family member and I opened up the Grind in Nakoma Park, and that just didn't work out. Overhead was like way too expensive. So we shut it down, and then I just started doing it out of my house, and it just grew from there.
That's cool.
Thank you.
Is there something that's your favorite?
I will be honest. I don't eat much of the stuff that I make. Everybody's asked me, just, well, how are you not 500 pounds? I'm like, because I don't eat the stuff I make. I test it before I bake it to make sure I got everything in there. But yeah, I don't really eat much of what I make. My family does.
Is there a family favorite then?
Cookies and I don't know. I just made my dad a key lime pie. So yeah, that's about half gone, and we cut it yesterday.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Your cake is beautiful. The one that you're donating for the silent auction. I put
Yes.
the link in the chat.
Mhm.
If everyone wants to check it out, why don't you describe the cake?
Well, it's going to be a raspberry sponge. So the cake, actual cake, will be raspberry with chocolate frosting, and then I'm going to do chocolate covered strawberries on top. And it'll be a 6-inch cake, which will feed about 10 people.
Wow, that's awesome.
And you can also freeze it.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
What's the best way to store it when you freeze it?
Wrap it in saran wrap, and then wrap it in foil, and then put it in there the way it should be sitting. So it'll last up to a month.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I tell people, because I've had customers, stock up on the mini loaves, and I'm like, you can totally freeze these, and they'll go home and wrap them and put them in the freezer, and I don't see them for a while.
Well, do you have anything else you would like to add, or does anybody else have any other questions they'd like to ask? If you raise your hand, I can unmute you if you're muted. You made it look so easy. I don't. I know. I struggle with baking.
I usually do it in a mixer, in a stand mixer, but it's kind of loud, so I wasn't sure if you would actually hear me. And if you listen closely, you can hear my son in the background. And he was not in the room.
That's funny. It's all good.
I'm like, oh well. Everybody knows that he's around. Because I didn't have any more ingredients. I couldn't make it again.
That's fun. Well, thank you for sharing and thank you for doing the session and sharing this with us. It was a treat. I'm really excited to try it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for letting me be involved. I feel honored.
Oh, it's the honor is ours. We have really, you were from the get-go going to be a part of the festival in person, and so I'm sad that we couldn't meet in person, but I'm glad we had an option to not to still help the businesses in the community and support local. You know, I've just been reiterating that in all the sessions. You know, please shop local. You know, and shop some small businesses, especially during this time.
I know. Almost so many small businesses is closed, and I won't, because I don't have rent to pay and overhead, or employees, but I try to help local as much as possible. Although Amazon has kind of been my best friend, because my supply shop is closed because of all the COVID, and I can't find the supplies that I need, so I have to go online.
I've been looking for active yeast since the beginning, and I haven't been able to find it.
Harps in Hera.
Oh, cool.
I was there yesterday and they had some.
That's really good
Like
to know.
2 boxes. I'm not sure if it's there now.
Yeah.
I know every time I go to the store, I look for it and I'm going to stock up. I have a jar of it, but cinnamon rolls take a lot. I can get 5 batches of cinnamon rolls out of a jar, so I try to stock up when I can.
I noticed on Amazon they have some really large quantities of it, and I just don't bake enough.
No, it'll go bad.
Yeah.
And I'm always afraid that I'll get some and then it just ends up being bad, and I'm like, well, crap, what am I gonna do now?
Mm-hmm.
Not be alive.
Well, does anybody have any last questions for Katie? Well, their contact information is in the chat. Please follow her on her Facebook page. She's constantly posting what's available and where she'll be.
And I do giveaways also.
Oh, that's cool. That's good stuff. She's just to reiterate, she's got mini pies and cupcakes and sweetbreads that are all going to be available. It's going to be a great selection. We'll post that on the page as well. And just reach out to her and get that order in for the curbside event. It's May 23rd at the Choctaw Metropolitan Library from 11 a.m. to noon. And don't leave the items sitting. That if you're going to order the food items, get there right at the beginning. Don't be late. So.
Or somebody else is gonna get them.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you for coming and taking the time and recording the video for us. And
No problem.
it's just been great. I'm definitely going to give it a try. I love raspberries. I love. I'm sure that crumble just makes it pop. So I'm really
Oh,
excited.
yes, 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 yes. It's super good, and even I'll reheat it in the microwave because I like it with warm with butter, and so the crumble stays very crunchy even when you do that.
Oh, that's cool to know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, any last words before we head out?
Just stay safe, everybody, and have as best of a summer as you can.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Katie.